everyone. My name is Erica O, and I'm here introducing you to a new podcast diving into the mental performance side of the life in sport with athletes. Here we're going to have genuine, authentic conversations and be able to talk about some of these obstacles that these athletes have faced and being able to dive into what they have done to help them overcome. As a licensed mental health clinician and in the psychology field for over 20 years, I am really excited to be here and have a support here for these athletes and open up this dialogue and conversations to really dive into the mission of the podcast in bringing athlete mental health performance awareness through these conversations. So let's gain momentum, and thank you for listening. All right, so I am so honored to have Cristian Soratos here today on the podcast.
I'm excited to be here.
And what we're going to be talking about today as I share the acronym that I notice a lot of athletes have in common and these similarities. So the acronym is TRIP. And so the initials are T for transitions, R for relationships, I for injury, and P for performance. So when you think about all those situations, adversity has to be the number one way to overcome anything that you have gone through as an athlete. So I just want you to think about this, acronym and one of the letters that stands out for you that you would be more than open and willing to share this experience as you were an athlete. And so just to start us off, give us a little bit about who you are, where you come from. I know you personally, and I don't want to.
You've been to a lot of the races. You've seen it.
So he was a professional athlete, ran for Adidas, collegiate athlete, ran for Montana State. Just to say the least, sub 4 mile, one of the very greatest accolades that I can say, and so happy to say that he is my family cousin, and I am excited to interview you. And so I just want to let you know, the mission of this podcast is so that we can have this space so that other athletes realize that they don't go through these adversities and setbacks by themselves. Like
Absolutely.
They go through these challenges and difficulties. And so having this place so other athletes that are listening hopefully can realize, hey, I'm not alone. And I know that, someone that reached that level was able to have their solutions, have certain support systems in place, and or just their own ways of expressing themselves and overcoming these obstacles. So Which letter are you picking?
Well, I think all of them are super important. And I think, like you said, adversity I think the word I think of when I think of like getting through any of those, one of words when as an athlete is perseverance, like, adapting and persevering through all, it was transitions. What was the second one? Transitions, relationships, injuries, and performance. Like all four of those require perseverance because you're going to have, setbacks and changes in every single one of those areas. And I think the one that I'm totally open to talking about and the one that excites me, I guess, to like be able to share with athletes that I feel like is going to be able to help them most is performance, because every single athlete wants to perform well, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like it doesn't matter if it's like the middle school level or Division I or professional. Like if you have any kind of like competitive athletic nature in you, like you want to do well, but you don't always do well. And sometimes it's a hit and sometimes it's a miss, and figuring out like how to make it a hit more consistently is so important, and figuring out what works for you, because not everything works the same for one athlete.
Sure.
Everyone's different. Everyone approaches games differently, preparation differently, thinks differently, feels differently. So it's like you got to find what works for you, and the best way to duplicate that to get the maximum, performance out of you as consistently as possible. You're never going to be perfect, but the best athletes strive to be perfect, and you're going to be chasing that forever, but it's just about trying to maximize that performance as best you can consistently.
Yes, I'm so glad you brought up performance because we can go into that in depth, just as you even put out another P, perfectionism.
Yeah.
And so being able to tap into, a lot of these conversations. And so before we get started on that letter and talking about performance and how you overcame some of those obstacles, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Yeah. So I was born and raised here in Salinas. I went to graduated Salinas High School. I
California.
ran California. That's right, California. And I spent 3 years doing cross country in high school. 4 years I did track, and I wasn't the fastest to start with. I didn't make varsity till my senior year, but I know I enjoyed it and I loved the sport. So I didn't really have a whole lot of opportunity to run collegiately after high school. So I had a junior college experience right here in Salinas at Hartnell Community College, and they had a great track program and the great history of developing athletes and setting them off. So I spent 2 years in junior college, made huge jumps, just simply because I worked my butt off. Like, it was just all work ethic and grinding, and ended up getting a scholarship to Montana
Mm-hmm.
State. Went to Montana State. I was a 2-time first team All American. I had the number 1 time in the NCAA my senior year, which is still crazy to say. Broke a lot of records, did a lot of things, and it was such a just blur, and just doesn't even feel real when I still talk about it, because it's just like where I started from. Like I told you, not even being varsity until my senior year at Salinas, and then being an All American and number 1 in the nation. It's like, that's just not really, you don't really do that. You don't really
Mm-hmm.
see that
Mm-hmm.
often. And it's pretty cool to say that I achieved that. Then ran professionally for 3.5 years for Adidas, ran at USA Championships, Olympic trials, um, got my mile time a little bit more down to 3:54. And yeah, that was pretty much it. I retired pretty early
Mm-hmm.
at 26. Running ended up becoming a little bit more of a stress when it's a profession. When it's a profession, you're expected to perform. And this is why I
Mm-hmm.
wanted to talk about it, because my first year, I didn't perform to Adidas standards, and my
Okay.
salary was cut. And when my salary got cut, I realized, oh, like, this is about performance. This is about showing up. And if you're not winning, and if you're not number 1, and if you're not just killing it, you're just dead weight. It's a business at the end of the day at
Mm-hmm.
that level.
Mm-hmm.
And just like any pro sport, you are expendable. They could
Sure.
trade you, cut you, sign another runner. It's all business. And it's nothing personal, but I wasn't ready for that. And that was a huge, huge, like, mental obstacle for me to overcome, which I still feel like I didn't, which is why when I finished my career at 26, I was kind of exhausted mentally, kind of gassed out,
Mm-hmm.
and ready to just kind of take my life in a different direction.
Okay.
So,
And so if you could describe a little bit, all those accolades, all of your resume of
uh-huh.
where you started to where you ended up as a pro, you went through so many stages in your
Yeah.
career, and even
Yeah.
just as like you were saying, even at that pre pro career,
Mhm.
you were testing out and figuring out who you were as an athlete, and figuring out what it takes to get to that level. You got there, and
Yeah.
so as you describe
Yeah.
performance and figuring out, okay, what was that obstacle for you? If you can share a little bit more about, as you mentioned, in the end, professional sports,
Yeah.
it's about the business and about the return on the investment, which
Yeah.
is, the performance and how
Of the
that is going to
athlete.
be exactly.
Mhm.
I don't really like to say you're the investment or you're the asset, but in the sense,
Yes. No, you
you
are.
you have to really perform, and that's at the end of the day, that
I
is
mean, you're
what
like a
you need to do.
stock. It's like, if you're not going up, it's like, they're just kind of like, we need to sell this thing. Like, but yeah, performance wise, I think the difference from like college to pro, right? I made huge leaps in junior college. I made huge leaps in college at Montana State. And I was very much in that, like, naivety,
Mm,
ignorance is bliss. I didn't really pay attention to other runners. I wasn't like watching videos, keeping track of like every big All American around the country and what they're doing for workouts and what
mhm,
they're doing for races and what their times are. I was just kind of in my own little, bubble of
mhm,
like,
mhm,
I kept it so simple in my head. Like, I was like, okay, I ran faster. Now the next goal. Cool, I ran faster again.
mhm,
Now the next goal. And I had sub 4 minutes for the mile, as a goal right after junior college. And it took me 3 years to get there. So it took a lot of time. But in those 3 years, I paid attention to nobody else around me but what I was doing and what
mhm,
I needed to do to get there. When I got to the pros, my world was kind of rocked, because I feel like that ignorance and naivety of like, oh wait, like everyone is like doing exactly the amount of work I'm doing, or everyone's just as fast as me now, and
mhm,
everyone
mhm,
is just as talented. And it just kind of shook me a little, to where it's like, I was thinking about it way more than I should have. I wasn't
mm,
keeping it simple anymore. I was
mhm,
very much
mhm,
in my head. I'd have good races, and the good races were the ones where I did keep it simple, where I was confident, where I was thinking about nobody else,
Mm-hmm.
but just me and my own ability. Not that I think like, oh, if I just focused on myself and was confident in myself, I'm going to win every
Mm-hmm.
race and I'm
Mm-hmm.
going to have the race of my life every race. But I definitely would have think it would have maximized a lot of my other performances. I think when you're worried about, what everyone else is doing and all
Right.
the things that you can't control, then you're just going to stress about, I mean, again, you can't control them. Worry
Mm-hmm.
about the
Mm-hmm.
things you can control, your health, your body, your sleep, your nutrition, your prep, whatever you need to do to get yourself ready for that race. You're in control of that. Everyone else, it's like, there's nothing you can do about it. So just, it just causes stress. And for me, it was really stressful just looking around in the starting line and
Sure.
being like, oh gosh, like these guys are fast, and
Mm-hmm.
instead of being like, hey, I'm fast too, like I belong here, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Having that confidence and just focusing on what I could do
Yeah.
versus what everyone else is
And so,
doing.
so great point to the overthinking. I think if you can dive into that a little bit deeper and share, what was actually happening if you can even think of a specific performance where the overthinking got in the way. What's the giggling? What's the
It's
laughing?
I'm because I could think of a perfect scenario.
Okay. I'm
Uh,
glad that you have a great memory. So share, what is it?
it's a painful memory.
Okay, wait.
So it's not a sad one.
I
It's just
should preface that. Are you open
oh
to
no,
dive into
absolutely.
that?
No, absolutely. It's just like I'm laughing because I'm like, oh, I know exactly a perfect way to answer this. So it was 2017 indoor USA championships. I'm having the indoor season of my career. I just came off a 354 mile PR. I just came off an 800-meter PR in Bozeman. I'm fit, I'm fast, I'm healthy.
Mhm.
I'm just like locked in, like I'm gonna win my first USA title. I'd never been more confident, never been so locked in. I feel like my first year when I got shook up, I was like, nope, like now I'm in it. Now I get how this works. I'm ready to go. It's in New Mexico. I go. First half of the race goes, I'm right behind the lead guy. We're kind of cruising. And me and my coach came up with the race plan. We said, okay, at the halfway mark, take off, but don't take off too hard. Just take the lead,
Mhm.
take control of the race, and slowly pick it up faster and faster
Mhm.
and
Mhm.
faster. So I take off. I'm in control. I feel great. I'm getting faster. 3 laps left. I'm getting faster. I'm starting to now spread myself from the field. Like you
Mhm.
can see, I'm
Mhm.
kind of pulling away
From the pack.
from the
Mhm.
pack.
Mhm.
Now we come into the final 200-meter lap, and I'm kind of well ahead. And for some reason, as I come around that turn with about 150 meters left, I take a peek behind my shoulder. Why? I don't know. That's like the cardinal sin of a
Mhm.
distance runner. Like,
Mhm.
don't look back. Like,
Mhm.
just stay here. And out of the corner of my eye, I could see like a green jersey. They weren't
Mhm.
very close, but I saw someone, and immediately in my head, I went, oh no, and started panicking.
Mm.
I was so zoned in the whole time. And for 150 meters left, I looked and panicked and started really getting scared.
Mhm.
I wasn't focused on me anymore. I'm focused on this guy's going to get me.
Mhm.
Oh no, this guy behind me. And my legs, when I say I immediately felt them get heavy and my body like resist
Mhm.
to like,
Mhm.
or over succumb to that stress and that thought, it was instant.
Mhm.
And I start getting tighter and tighter. And sure enough, off the very last turn, I hear footsteps and he catches me right at the
Mhm.
line and I get second place and don't get my USA title. And I mean by like a half second, he caught me. I tell this story to my athletes all the time because I'm like, I promise you with everything in me, I know that if I just am right here and focused
Mhm.
on me, I still had so much left in the tank. I was feeling so good. There's
Mhm.
no
Mhm.
way that like my body would just shut down like that when it was all between the ears and the panic and the stress
Mhm.
and the
Mhm.
not focusing on what I was doing and getting scared about what
Sure.
someone else behind me
Sure.
might do, which was catch me. And
And
sure enough, he did.
he did. And you mentioned how quick, right? From that instant, almost
Yeah.
seconds,
No, it was so
split
fast.
second that you noticed it, realized it, and how it shifted.
Yeah.
And so, as you're describing that feeling, I mean, I appreciate the detail in that story, in that moment, what you willing to go back into that experience,
Yeah.
not only to share here, but for everybody else, to really understand how you described, the overthinking and how it can get in the way.
Yeah.
Being able to really, understand that what you don't have control over,
Mhm.
let it go.
Yeah.
You got to be able to be in that moment, in that zone, like you said, being able to really just focus in on what you are there to do, your
Mhm.
performance. And, we can't look back in the sense
No.
that, no regrets. And I think this is where, I really hope that as you're diving into that, you were going into it pretty in depth. In fact, were you able to describe and even notice like physically how your body responded to that moment too? Because
Yeah.
a lot of situations with athletes, there isn't that mind body connection. And so
Oh, yeah.
I know that you pinpointed that it's about in between the ears and,
Yep.
what you have control over in your mind. And so also, making sure that you have that understanding of that connection physically as well.
Yeah. Yeah, and, looking back, it's like at that level, it's a lot different at that level too, because like you need to be damn near perfect. It's like it's the pro level.
Perfect.
Oh,
Okay.
yeah, no, because you in a race like that, like I ran 90% of a race perfectly,
Mhm.
and I ran 10% not good, and I lost. In college, I could maybe get away with that and
Mhm. Mhm.
still, win.
Mhm.
But that's when you reach those levels of like where everyone is that, good,
On point.
on point.
Right.
There's
Sticking to their
so
plan.
little room for error
Mhm.
at that
Mhm.
level
Mhm.
of, competition. And that's the hardest part about like running at that level. Even at like Division 1 level, it's just like
Mhm.
as the higher you go up the ladder, the less room there is for error
Sure.
at that level. And, like I said, I don't really regret it. I look back and I'm just like, I just wish I, knew a little bit more about it.
Knew more about what? Let's focus on that. So what would you have felt like could have helped you in that moment to really push to, like you said, that 1% that was the error,
Yeah.
to really get you to that finish line?
Yeah. I mean, it's just like, uh, I say it all the time that I wish back then, especially as a runner, because so much is between the ears, and not that other sports aren't. I mean, yeah, I think about like golf. Like I love golf right now, and I think about like, holy cow, like how much between the ears, how in your head you can get so fast about one
Mhm.
bad shot
Mhm.
that could spill over to the next one, to the next one, to the next one, because you're just telling yourself all this negative stuff, right? So, you know, I lost my train of thought there. What was your?
So
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 it's just like,
what would you have done differently,
oh,
or
yeah,
as you, back then, something in place to help you
right.
overcome that
I would have
overthinking?
absolutely been seeing a sports psychologist. I think for me, it was everything between the ears had nothing to do with lack of ability or training or work ethic, or was I eating the right foods? Was I getting enough sleep? Was I working out hard enough? No. I mean, my coach himself told me, he was like, you were in sub 350 mile shape multiple times in your career. He was basically saying I could run a 349 mile, which not many human beings on planet Earth have ever done. He's like, you
Yeah.
were in that kind of shape. And I was
I
like,
wish we
what?
had the stat for that.
Yeah, yeah. It's a very small,
Small.
small, small group of human beings who have ever done that. But he's not really one to gas people up like that. He's pretty quiet and
Mhm.
timid guy. So when he said that to me, I was like, I knew he was telling the truth. And I think, well, why did I never do it? Like, what was I missing? What piece, that I need? And for me, it was always just the mental side of things. Like, how confident, how relaxed, how focused on just what I was doing I
Mhm.
could
Mhm.
be. And again, at the pro level, it's like everyone's around you, and it's so much easier when you're running for someone to be right next to you for
Mhm.
that to shake you
Mhm.
mentally.
Mhm.
Like you got to be like, like a horse with
Right.
the blinders on and just really, really focus. So I think I mean, I wish I would have, but I definitely would have been seeing some kind of mental health, sports psychologist,
Mental
mental
performance.
performance
Mhm.
coach to get me to help me work through that, maybe that last 10% that I
Mhm.
need to
Mhm.
really instill that focus of, or that confidence and that focus that like think about you, let go of the
Mhm.
things you can't
Right.
control, focus on the things you can, do your best. And at the end of the day, also like if you don't win and if you don't have your bet, that's all right too. You're
Mhm.
not you're
Mhm.
not gonna be perfect. Just accept the fact that not every day is going to be your best day,
Right.
and that's all right too.
And that's a
You
big
know?
one, acceptance, being able to accept it and, move on to the next plan for the next race and get ready for, whatever's next in whichever sport you're in. I
Yeah.
think that, as you were describing also, the ability to be able to overcome that negativity. I wonder what helped you because you did get, you have many awards and
Mhm.
accolades and all of these accomplishments that you have. So you were doing some
Yeah.
on your own, and so I'm
Yeah.
just curious what helped you
Like what did help when I did
with the
when
negative
things
mindset.
clicked,
Yeah.
like when it was
Or no, when
100%?
things were starting to get in the way, like the negative mindset. You mentioned the negativity at one point.
Mhm. So you wanna know, like, what helped me overcome that? Oh,
Hmm.
well,
Hmm.
I mean, for me, it's like in my sport, it was pretty easy for me to take that and just throw it into training. Like, it would kinda fuel my fire to,
Okay.
like, get back out there, and that I wouldn't really work through it mentally or, like,
Hmm.
I kind of always say for running, it's like the most emotional people make the best runners. And a lot of times we won't necessarily talk about them. We just go blow it up in a workout or on a run. We just like, nope, like I'm going to use this and just go have the best workout of my life. And I would
Hmm.
constantly do that. So if like I was unsatisfied with a race or was upset that I didn't do well, I would just use that as fuel to motivate me to be like, well, we got to work harder. Right. So that's why I think that's another reason why my coach said, like, you were always in physically phenomenal shape because I would constantly
Right.
use that emotion to drive my, physical boundaries
Sure.
and barriers.
Energize you.
But I
Hmm.
wasn't working through the mental part that could really help me during my races. So that's why I think I was always in phenomenal physical shape. But come races, it's not just about being the best physically in shape, it's about how well you can control your emotions, be confident, ignore the other outside factors. That's the part that I was always missing. And I think tons of runners and athletes can attest to that, where they feel like I'm the best. Like at practice, we call them, it's funny. We used to call them workout warriors,
Hmm.
where like we'd have teammates crush workouts. I'd have teammates who did workouts better than me. Come race day, I'd beat them, and they're going, "Well, I just beat you in the workouts
What
because
happened?
it's up here between the ears during the race. It's what you're telling yourself because those are like." When you start overthinking, when you start getting worried, like the game day, game days are always like a big stressful thing. So, I'm sure there's other athletes in other sports that can attest, maybe even like with golfers, we'll go back to
Hmm.
that, where it's like maybe they're doing a practice round. No one's watching. They're just, boom, they're crushing it. Golf day, people are watching, and like the nerves, the
Right.
mental part. Everyone's, so it's like, and then they shoot horribly. So it's like, well, what are you doing differently? Why are you shooting so well when no one's
Hmm.
watching at practice? What are you telling yourself then versus what are you telling yourself during the game day or the golf
So,
mat?
so what were some things that you would tell yourself to help you feel that energy as you described?
Well, I will say my best races always came when I was relaxed and having fun. For me,
Hmm.
that's what worked. If I was smiling, kind of just like, happy and just like really relaxed, I could feel it. I was just like, oh, like I'm gonna have a good race. Like it was weird. I didn't have to overthink. But when I was too tense, too stressed, too almost like too getting too hyped or too worried, it would just lock me up. And in running, you got to be like as fast as smooth as fast. If you're not
Hmm.
relaxed, you're not going to run fast. So you got it's like this weird like balance of like even I feel like in any sport, just being relaxed, but being like focused
And
and
in that happy
confident.
medium,
Yeah,
right? It's
right in the
like it has to
middle.
harmonize. It
Yeah,
has to not be too calm, not too hyped
yeah.
up, and
And
right in that
And
middle
every
ground.
sport is so different because, like, in running, you can be pretty emotional and really use like did emotions to have a good
Hmm.
race. Like the best college race of my life was well, you were there in Seattle,
Hmm. Hmm.
and that was a super emotional race for me. I had a lot of doubters in the NCAA saying he ran a converted mile. He can't do that in real life.
Hmm.
We'll see what he does in Seattle. Artia had just
Hmm.
passed away recently, and you and tons of family were there. So I was running with a heavy heart. Like
Mm.
I refuse to let my family down or just so I
Mhm.
used a lot of emotion in that race and it worked and I ran phenomenal. But you can't always do that in every sport.
Mhm.
Like
And
you have to be able to control emotions in some sport. Like I'll use volleyball. I coached my girls' volleyball team. If they get too emotional, they're all over the place. They can't bump a ball properly because
Sure.
there's a certain amount of finesse and control. So it's like not every sport is about just using the
Mhm.
emotion. Like you said, depending on the sport, the balance of like focus, calm, relaxed,
Mhm.
and then like this intensity, this competitive nature, and this like refusing to give up. Like depending on your sport will depend on how
Mhm.
much you need of each one.
And I think we go back to, the emotion can only sustain that performance. You have to
Yeah.
be able to understand it and realize what that emotion is, accept it, have it work for you, not have it work against you, and then decide, is this the moment that I need that emotion to really help me?
Yeah.
And then make those decisions, right? Like you're saying, it is about, understanding yourself and having that awareness
Mm.
and realizing, okay, what do I need right now for this race or for
Hmm.
whichever sport
Or for a
to help
workout.
for your
Hmm.
workouts, for that day-to-day performance that you
Yeah.
are, again, putting those pieces to the final product.
Yeah, and see, that's the thing. I was great at half of it. I mean, not that I wasn't good at racing either. I would say I was okay at racing, honestly. That's the crazy part is I was very hit and miss. And I think even the pros knew that, like, he's Chris Soratos. He's kind of a wild card, man. Like, we can't completely ignore him, but he's either going to be like right there scaring us or he's kind of out of the picture because that's how hit and miss I was. So I was
Mhm.
kind of this wild card as a pro because I feel like I had half of it figured out where, like you're saying, when to use the emotion, when not to. I knew exactly how to use the emotion to get me in physically great shape. Just use it in workouts,
Mhm.
use it to motivate me, drive me. Anybody that ever doubted me that was like, okay, watch this, like
Mhm.
I'd
Mhm.
really use negative emotion to catapult me to work harder, which was great. You need that. But then like I tried to kind of also do that in races and it didn't quite work as well because I wasn't, you know, doing the other half, the mental half, the kind of calm, relaxed, confident smile. Hey, still have fun.
Sure.
Like meet the medium, meet the
Right.
middle there with like the emotion and then the mental side of things where I could run my best. And those were the ones. Those were the ones where I did run my best. Where I feel like I was like in great. I had like emotion, definitely some emotion, but I also had this calm, relaxed, fun. Because for me, that's how I needed to
Mhm.
run.
Mhm.
Confident side, and then it met in the middle, and then there was those races where I had the race of my life, where I won this race, or I run this time.
And so a lot of, as a lot of the information that you're providing and, all your experience as an athlete, being able to kind of reflect on it now as you realize, okay, this is how I was, what I learned now about myself.
Hmm.
And being able to know that, these skills are transferable no matter
Oh
where
yeah.
you go, sport or life,
Hmm.
it's definitely something that, I want to be able to make awareness that, okay, these emotions, they're going to happen no matter if you are in sport or not, where, it's going to follow you.
Yeah.
And so being able to really, have an understanding that, you were an athlete, still an athlete, it's part of who you are, part of,
Hmm.
what you, um, you know, gained as an adult and figured out, how is this going to help you throughout even post career, or
Yeah.
in any areas that you've experienced. I wanted to touch on before we go into that part of the podcast. Being able to really have fun, as you mentioned. I
Yeah.
think that is the best advice and best um, information that anybody can
Yeah.
take with them. And so, what helped you have fun in those moments during races, or to help you prepare to be at your races and get ready to perform?
For me, it was like music. Like I love listening to music. You get me, plugged in, and I have some hype song, or
Okay,
even
what's
just
the
like a.
song?
My playlists are like 1,000 songs long. I couldn't tell you. I mean, like I feel like every phase of my career, it was always a different song. It was never the one
Okay.
song. But like, what's the one? By Roy Jones Jr. He's a boxer. Is it "Knock You Out"? I think that's the name of the song. But like, they were like confident songs or like
Okay.
sports songs, but they were like also kind of like fun and goofy. I don't know.
Uh-huh,
Like,
uh-huh.
and as long as like I had music plugged in, and it really depended on my mood. Like,
Sure.
I picked the song based on what I was feeling, whether I was like, I want to be like really intense today,
Mhm,
or I
mhm.
want to keep it lighter. But yeah, for me, it's like I could always tell if I was kind of like bobbing my head and like doing one of these with my headphones on, it just helped me relax. And music was always that helped me relax. And I feel like, I mean, you go to any track meet, basketball game, football game, and you go into a locker room, there's music usually playing, or you see athletes, headphones,
Right.
boom, just like trying to zone in. So I feel like
Zone in.
music is like huge for athletes to be able to relax and find their like little zone, whether that's like they need to be serious or they need to have fun. Like, cause again, every athlete's different, right?
Right.
Some athletes, when they hear me say like, oh, I needed to smile and have fun and relax and be goofy, they're like, well, that's not me. I need to be well, great. Like, be serious then. If that's what helps that athlete get the maximum performance, great. Then lock in. Do what you got to do. But everyone's different. So for me, it was always like music, and if I could find a song that kind of helped relax me and get me like moving and bobbing my head, then it felt good. Like I felt like it helped.
I
Yeah.
feel like I could hear the music already. Like, bobbing your head, ready to feel
Yeah,
it.
yeah.
I get it. Music, for us, the culture, I think it's a huge factor in, in every part of my life as well. I get it. I
Yeah.
understand it. It hypes you up. It gets you energized. But again, as you described, depending on the mood and emotion and what you want to feel in that moment. So I appreciate you sharing that
Yeah.
that piece of information that you really felt that was helpful for you in those moments, especially to get through the best performance that you experienced in your careers. So
Yeah.
so one thing that I wanted to also have as part of a everybody that comes on the podcast, they're going to share, if I only knew what I know now.
I like that. Yeah.
So that way you really reflect on what, experience you had and what you would have done differently, and or to just kind of leave that piece of advice for those that are listening, especially, the younger generation, those that are, either coming up or being able to really, have a support system and understand like, okay, these different situations in my career, in my sport, they happened not only to you, maybe happened to, others. And I'm sure there are similarities. So I just want to hear what your, if I only knew what I know now.
It's funny. It's like the if I only knew is like what I do every day. It's like, it's why I enjoy teaching. I'm a middle school PE teacher and I'm a coach. I help cross country and track. And even at the middle school level, it's like, for me, like the joy of teaching isn't in like, it's like, it's fun. I get to play dodgeball and, mess around with the kids. Like I get paid to do that. It's pretty sweet. But it's like, I always say my favorite part of the job is talking to the kids and helping them on the day to day, whether it's like emotionally or mentally, maybe they're having a hard day, and just like talking to them, giving them life advice, like whether it's like about performance in sports or just helping them in general. Like that's the joy in teaching for me. And that's what I love about coaching as far as like athletes and track and cross country, is that I feel like it is like every single day I get an opportunity to have if, if I only knew what I knew then, right? And I'm passing that on to them to try to help them learn sooner what I didn't know, right? For me, I feel like it was just, if I only knew that I could still have fun and take it serious and be successful. Because I feel like kids nowadays burn out at such an early age because they take sports so seriously so soon. And I'm not saying don't train year round if you love it. I'm not saying don't work your butt off if you have goals. Go for it. Absolutely. But like, don't forget to like have fun and enjoy the process. Enjoy the little successes along the journey. Because for me, it was like, I did enjoy the successes, but I didn't really soak it in as much as I should have. I wish I would have. I call it now as an adult, is like I like to stop and smell the roses.
Yes.
I didn't do that as a pro even. Like when I think about my professional running career, it like that, like in a blink of an eye, gone, because I was so focused on the goals, the USA Championships, Olympics, sub 350 mile. And that's great to be that locked in, but it's like I didn't really get to just enjoy the moments.
Yes.
And now looking back, I'm like, God, like I really wish I would have like soaked that in a little bit more and appreciated what was happening around me through the hard work and the grinding and all that. And like I'm saying, grind, work hard, be ambitious, but like have fun, and also like pat yourself on the back and for your accomplishments along the way, so you don't forget the joy of like when you first got your base hit in baseball, when you got your first birdie in golf, when you got, your first touchdown in football. Remember those simple joys of the first time and you know, don't let it just like, oh, now that you're so much better, like, this not still an accomplishment. I don't know, just have fun with it and like enjoy the process along the way.
And slow it down. I think that's what I
Yeah, yeah,
heard. That's what
yeah.
stood out to
Mm-hmm.
me. Slow down that process,
Yeah.
embrace it, enjoy the moment, take in that moment to really feel it all throughout, not only, mentally, physically,
Yeah.
enjoy it with
Yeah.
those that are surrounding you, and really paying attention to what, like you said, what brought you back to that, to that point in your career, what brought you there, what got you there, and being able to really take it all in and enjoy it. So
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
appreciate this conversation
Yeah.
so
No, it
much.
was
It
so
just means
nice.
so much to be able to, one, have you here, being
Yeah.
able to have this time and enjoy this moment here as well. Make it feel as comfortable, and not only for us, but really just for those that are listening, to be able to really understand that they are not the only ones that are going through this situation, and to really reach out if they need that support in order to really get, fine tune their mental performance and understand the value of it and the
Oh yeah.
benefits. So again, I'm honored, really honored, and appreciate the conversation with you, taking the time to be able to share that experience and tap into that those moments that you express, that were moments in your career that were situations that you experienced that might have been hard to bring
Yeah.
up and talk about. But I get,
Nah, it was fun.
I really appreciate you being open and honest, and thank you so much for being here. So
No, I appreciate you having me on. And to everybody watching, if you're watching or listening, don't let anybody tell you what you can and can't do. Don't stop working hard and just enjoy the ride. That's all I can say.
thank you so much.